Deployed to build schools and bases and to assist the Marines.
When the mortar round hit, I was completely knocked out. I didn't wake up until 6 days later.
Paralyzed veteran, Senior National Service Officer Raymond Bruce.
I saw Pete when he was at his worst. He didn't know if he was going to live to be able to see his daughter graduate from high school.
Raymond knew that I needed help figuring out where do we go from here.
We not only represent the veteran, but we represent the whole family.
11 months we stayed in the hospital down in Tampa.
We advocate, we educate, and we process claims through the VA, and we follow that claim from the beginning to the end.
Without Paralyzed Veterans of America, I really honestly believe I'd still be in the hospital.
You can help our paralyzed veterans. To learn more, visit pva.org, a public service of Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Talk 1470, WWNN Pompano Beach, WKIS HD3, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Are you thinking about getting your GED diploma? Well, here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a number of pep talks that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You know that feeling? People look at you and don't believe in you.
You want some gentle encouragement.
Then you're on your way to your GED diploma and a better life.
But I know you're probably just a little bit nervous.
You can find it in yourself to take that first step.
You can improve your future. You can do this. I know you can.
You need to start pushing yourself.
Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need to get your GED diploma, we've got a pep talk that's right for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and find free GED classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
AM 1470, WNN, with more of what you need to know. Don't miss South Florida's Eat and Critique radio show with Steve-O and Renee. Saturdays at 2. Bring your appetite on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network. AM 1470, WNN.
Where do you want to go to lunch? I'm having a stroke. Did you hear what I said? I'm having a stroke. Why aren't you answering me? I'm having a stroke.
What's up with your face?
I'm having a stroke.
That's not normal. Is something wrong?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having an allergic reaction?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council. Talk health. Talk wealth. Talk politics. Talk 1470. WNN.
When it comes to getting the word out about your business, radio is second to none. Here you are listening to talk radio right now. Imagine if the message you heard was about your business and why customers should choose you over your competitor. Isn't that what you need to help get to or stay at the top? Right now, right here on this Beasley Broadcast Group station, there are rare opportunities for you to do just that. Learn how you can be on the radio doing your own show about your business. And get those phones ringing. Call 561-997-0074. That's 561-997-0074. Take that small step to big prosperity. Now, call 561-997-0074. The opinions expressed in the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Shub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
And welcome to another edition of the Golf and Travel Show. I'm your host, Dan Schub. And tonight, like we do every week at this time, we'll be talking some golf, we'll be talking some travel, and we're going to be joined by some very, very cool guests. And tonight we've got a great show lined up for you. We're going to be joined in just a few minutes by an old friend of mine, Jesse Ortiz. And for those of you who don't know him by name, he is a master club designer, currently working for Bobby Jones Golf. And he's the guy that invented some of the very cool clubs that Orlamar had back in the day. Their tri-metal fairway woods, very, very cool. So I'm really excited about that. We're also going to be talking a little bit later in the show to Jeff Verlotta of Classic Vacations. He was supposed to be on with us a while back, and he was having too much fun vacationing, I guess, but he's going to make it to the show tonight, I certainly hope, because he's got some great packages that we're going to talk to him about. And last but not least, Jake Calderon, and he is with Sandals, Beaches, and Grand Pineapple Resort, some of those all-inclusives that everybody loves to go to in the sunny places with the beaches and those frilly drinks that are unlimited. So you don't want to miss any of that. It's going to be a really, really, really good show this week. And but first, as always, what I like to do is let everybody know who is sitting right here in the studio with me. And as always, I like to lead off with Jerry Augustine, who just arrived. Her private yacht brings her in, and Jerry brings to us over 25 years of experience in the service and hospitality industry. She's currently the president and the owner of Sea Dreams Travel in Jupiter. At Sea Dreams, she's that concierge that creates the perfect vacation for you and your family. Sea Dreams has a knowledgeable staff that's traveled the world, and her tagline, "Your World, Your Way," is exactly what Sea Dreams is all about. When you listen to the Golf and Travel Show and Jerry, she proves every week how booking travel yourself is not your best or easiest route. How are you today, Jerry?
I'm great. Hi, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that it is our special Valentine's Day edition.
That's why we have Sandals is romantic.
It is romantic and a great place for couples, and I can't wait to hear all about it. So I'm glad that you're here, and I'm waiting to find out a little bit more of those details about those wonderful vacations. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the show. And to my right, my other co-host is here, and with that beautiful swing, that would be Jess Frank, and he's a PGA teaching professional and the owner of the Jess Frank Golf Academy at Boca Dunes Golf and Country Club in beautiful Boca Raton, just up the road from where we're sitting right now. Jess specializes in on-course vacation instruction with V1 video analysis, or vacations for golf, I suppose. He believes that every lesson and every swing is different. He likes to focus on the scoring part of your game, the short shots, which are taught on the golf course, and that instills plenty of confidence, and I think we're going to find out a little bit about that in just a minute or two. Some of you may know him from his work at area country clubs such as St. Andrews, Boca Lago, and Broken Sound. Jess loves to teach, has a passion for the game because golf is a little bit challenging at times, but Jess makes it easy for you to learn and to excel. Right, Jess?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a first-hand testimonial here right in the studio.
Made it lots of fun.
And good evening, everyone. Another beautiful day in sunny South Florida. And happy Valentine's Day, Dan and Jerry.
Thank you.
Yeah, Thank you. It's it was a perfect day for golf. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, typically this time of year, we're fortunate to be blessed with some of the best weather in the country, and I think today was no exception. Mm-hmm. And some of us are also blessed to have jobs that keep us out there in the beautiful weather.
We're very lucky compared to what's going on up north. So
that's right. And some of us are fortunate enough to sometimes sneak out of the office and get a little chance to either get in 9 or 18 holes, or maybe a quick lesson or a little practice at the range or at the putting green.
You can't go wrong with that. Absolutely not. That's it's a lot of fun.
You can't. So I was kind of teasing a little bit, and I think so were you, about the confidence that you instill and how your pupils can excel. And so I think you have a little story to tell.
I do. And we've been doing this show for a few months now, and we talk about golf and, of course, travel. And, the young lady sitting across from me, Miss Augustine, Jerry, we had her out for her first lesson.
Wow.
And, we got her, the first step was getting her clubs, and now we had her out on the driving range.
Did you want to tell everybody what clubs? Since you're also an expert club hitter, what was it that was the appropriate set for her?
It was a really nice starter set that had really light graphite shafts and thin grip, so it's easy for her to handle, and very forgiving heads on there.
So square were they pink or lavender?
No, they're lavender. They're lavender. They're purple. Yes.
We were also
that's for me, that's the stuff that for my students to enjoy, because they're using exactly. That's what it's all about. Because if you have confidence in yourself and how you look, it reflects on how you play sometimes. So if you have the right equipment and very forgiving irons, and just make it a lot easier in the learning process. And we were out the other day, and Jerry was very impressive.
I saw the pictures, and I was very impressed with her swing, her style. It seemed like she really did know what she was doing for somebody who's such an early on beginner.
I'll tell you what, Dan, that's something very interesting. You just said her own style. Like I don't like to teach positions. I like to teach a swing, and I get the person set up into their golf setup and get them comfortable and get their grip, their hands on the club correctly. And then I let them, and I move them through a motion, and usually they add their own unique touch, their own thumbprint on their golf swing. And so I try to have them make it their own. And Jerry, I tell you what,
she's a bit of a natural.
I was her strength and how far she hit it, and she got the ball up in the air, and just
so we're talking really, like she's not here.
Yeah, exactly. And
you're an amazing instructor. That's enough. You've said it. It's good. That's good. It was the instructor, really.
I don't know.
But we spoke about instilling confidence, and I know when you're talking about clubs other than the flat stick, that one thing that you always like to say is you want your beginners to get the ball up in the air. That's the first concern, because not everybody could do that easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she was, from what I heard, she was getting the ball up in the air
every time. She got the ball up in the air, and she hit it solid. Because I'm very conscious of my students, because I want them to have confidence right away. I want them to have success right away, and so I can see if they're going to have success or not pretty quickly. And so what we did was I always line up tees to have people clip, and have my students hit and clip and do that. And when I saw Jerry go through the first line of tees after showing her a couple things, and I was like, wow, she's going to excel. And sure enough, as soon as I put the balls on top of the tees, and she was able to make good solid contact and go right to a balanced finish, and everything I'd love to see in a beginning golf swing. A good grip, she had good posture, good setup, and she had a good strength, good swing speed, and she made that. And you can see by the pictures on our Golf and Travel Facebook page.
Yep, Facebook.com/ the Golf and Travel Show.
Exactly. A shameless plug.
Yep.
But hey, we have to do it, and you'll see her just go right to a really nice, beautiful, balanced finish that any player would be envious of. And she was able to go and hold that position and strike the ball and send it down the fairway, and straight and high and far. And I was like, hey, this is my prized pupil now. I'm gonna have to show her off. So
she could be the next one that you send off to the tour.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fun to see that, and that's what I get enjoyment out of. I love to see somebody excel, and especially somebody who's never played the game or haven't played in a long time. to hit the ball like that and to get the good feelings and to smile and to laugh and to have fun, and that's really what it's all about. I mean, that's, you're coming to me to, yes, help you play a little bit and to get better at the game, but you want to have fun. You want to enjoy yourself. You don't, this is a stress relief. It's not supposed to add stress to your life.
Well, what was interesting is I drove down here to the station with Jerry and I asked her how it went, and she was so excited that she's looking forward to her next lesson, and I can't believe that every pupil is that way, because as we always say, golf is a difficult game, and if you don't experience some initial success, which of course a pro like yourself, you try and make sure that there's some, but I can understand where some people might come to the realization very early on that it's not as simple as they may have thought.
No, and I'm very careful of that, and I want them to have success, and even Jerry, we went on the putting green and we worked on her putting stroke, and she was telling me earlier how she was setting up her lines and practicing at her house, and with two broomsticks, exactly. So, and she was making putts, and the ball was going in the hole, and so a combination of hitting the ball in the air on the driving range and making putts, I mean, that's two huge things for a beginner to accomplish immediately.
Life is good.
Life is great, actually.
All right, so I have to say that hopefully our listeners got a few tips out of this conversation. Typically we have a tip for them, but I think the tip of this week is, if you have been afraid to go get a lesson from your PGA teaching pro, or Jess, of course, who I would recommend, don't be afraid. No. They're there to help you and to make it more enjoyable. And when you know how to do it right, it's a heck of a lot more fun and easier than when you're doing it wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
There you go. And we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with our first guest, Jesse Ortiz, in just a moment. Stay tuned. And we're back, and it's time for a quick message from one of our most valued sponsors, and that would be the Jess Frank Golf Academy, which is the home of the Playing Lesson, and of course it's also the home of my co-host Jess Frank, who for 15 years has been improving golfers' ball striking, consistency, and distance. He's a PGA teaching professional and the owner of the Jess Frank Golf Academy, located in Boca Raton at the beautiful Boca Dunes Golf and Country Club. If you're a seasoned golfer trying to break 80 or a beginner, Jess's passion is to help you play better golf and have a lot of fun doing it. Each lesson includes on-course time with V1 video analysis, focusing on improving all facets of your game. And for a limited time, new students who mention the Golf and Travel Show will receive a Valentine's Day special. And you better hurry, because Valentine's Day is today, so I think this special is ending soon. But your first 4 lessons will be at 50% off the normal package price, which is $400. So for only $200, you will receive the package. Just mention the Golf and Travel Show. To learn more about the services of the Jess Frank Golf Academy, call 561-213-8579. That's 561-213-8579, or visit jessfrankgolf.com.
Oh, mother, say a prayer for me. Jesse's back in town, it won't be easy. Don't let him near me, don't let him touch me, don't let him please me. Jesse, I won't cut fresh flowers for you. No, Jesse, I won't make the wine cold for you.
And we are back, and hopefully, I don't know if Jesse's going to get fresh flowers on Valentine's Day or not, but it's my pleasure to introduce somebody that I've spoken to many times over the years at the PGA Merchandise Show. He's been a Master Club designer for over 40 years. Many of you may have known him from his days back at Orlamore, when he designed the Tri-Metal Wood, but now he's been designing some beautiful clubs for a line, the Bobby Jones golf equipment line. Just some wonderful stuff, and it's my pleasure to be able to share some of his knowledge with everybody out there listening. So, Jesse Ortiz, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, Dan. Thank you very much. I love that song. That was the Stones that did it?
Say that again?
Was it the Rolling Stones who did that song originally? Or
No, I think that was Carly Simon who always did that song, I believe. But I was trying to find an appropriate lead-in for you, and I couldn't find a better one than that. So, and again, thanks for giving up your Valentine's night a little bit to spend it with us. I truly appreciate it. And again, somebody like Jess, who's sitting next to me here, our resident PGA teaching pro, I know that he's a fan of your equipment, and I mentioned some of the things that we spoke about, and as we spoke earlier this morning, that instilling confidence in golfers and keeping them interested in the game is something that everybody in the game is interested in. And I know that a lot of the clubs that you're designing these days really focus on that, helping golfers get the ball up in the air and just have an easier time out there, folks that aren't PGA pros. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of what you've been designing for Bobby Jones and some of the thoughts that are behind it?
Well, I've always tried to do that, Dan, is try to make clubs that appeal to, from the eye standpoint, appeal to really good players or tour pros, but then have design features and benefits that help just the average golfer. I mean, that really started in the metal, when we went to metal in 99, 98 with Tri-Metal. I designed that club really for the average weekend golfer. I mean, I was the last guy in the world to dream that it would be number one on tour. It was a club that was shallow-faced with a Marajan steel face that was really designed to help the average guy get the ball airborne. And I've continued that with Bobby Jones. I've got a big responsibility designing clubs with the Bobby Jones name, as you can imagine. And I try to stay true to making clubs that really look nice. If Bobby Jones were alive today, he could put the club down and say, gee, I can play with this. But then we got to be realistic and realize that the clubs have to work for everybody. So the new line, I'm excited about the new men's line, and really excited about the women's line, because I don't think anybody's doing what we're doing with the women's line. So yeah, I'm excited, and it was great to see you there at the show.
Now the Bobby Jones line, it's actually his heirs, his family, that still have an influence or ownership in this. Is that correct?
Yeah, Bob the Fourth is very involved. Ann Laird is one of these Bob's cousins. So there's a bunch of family that is still very involved in keeping the name out there and creating, making it an iconic brand in the golf industry. I'm just doing the clubs, but the apparel line is doing very, very well, and I know that we're looking to get into other accessories. So we're all of us understand the responsibility we have when we put out any product with the Bobby Jones name. It has to be absolutely first class, and it has to be of timeless style and elegant grace. So we're all nervous, but we're up to the challenge.
The irony that I find in this is that back in the day when Bobby played, what was he hitting? I mean, hickory and persimmon, or I mean, must have been just pure talent based on what he had available to him, huh?
Well, he was one of the first players to really, really get into making his own clubs. And in fact, I believe he was the first golfer to have his name on the clubs. I think it was the Spalding's cut a deal with Spalding. I think he was the first one to have his name on the clubs, not as a designer. Up until then, there were designers, craftsmen, but Bobby Jones was the first player to really put his name on clubs. So,
and what's interesting about that, of course, is he was always an amateur. So I mean, it was his own name on his own club, but nobody was paying him money, I guess, to do that. So that was a whole different world back then, especially for him. I mean, very, very unusual guy and career achieving what he achieved as an amateur.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I remember talking with Mr. Venturi with Ken, and the year that he almost won the Masters, he told me several times that he had conversations with Bobby Jones, and had he won the Masters as an amateur, Ken Venturi would never have turned pro. He would have followed in Bobby Jones's footsteps.
Wow, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, this year at the show, it seemed that a lot of folks, you had spoken to me a little bit about the Soul, but before we talk about that, it seems that more loft all of a sudden everybody's talking about, and that seems to change like every couple of years, how much loft is appropriate for a golfer, whether it's for a driver or a 3-wood. What's that all about?
Well, in this industry there's just a little bit of hype out there, not much. We're always trying to reinvent the wheel, and there's always something that's different, but really it's not different. We just rehash, the old. I mean, really, realistically, I've been talking about extra loft for years, but nobody listens to me. But when one of the majors comes out and says it, all of a sudden now it's gospel. But I've been telling people for a long time that those 8 and 9 degree clubs or drivers, they just don't work for the average golfer. And although some of the manufacturers are moving the CG up higher and closer to the face, to make those clubs work, you've got to go with extra loft. And the way the balls are designed today, you want to get the ball airborne, and you want to keep it in the air as long as possible. So many golfers I run into think that they got to hit the ball low to get the maximum distance, and they're looking at the British Open every year when people are hitting the ball and get 100 yards rolled. They think that's what they get, but realistically here in the U.S., the fairways are pretty well manicured, so you always get more distance through the air than on the ground. And I really recommend anyone who isn't swinging, if you're swinging 90 miles an hour or less, you shouldn't even consider anything below a 10.5 or an 11. And really, most golfers in that 80 mile an hour range, low 90s, ought to try something in the 12.5 degree range, because there's a difference between hitting the ball high and it bores and hitting the ball high and ballooning. Two very, very different things. And not only applies to drivers, but it really applies to fairway woods too. A couple of years ago, the Golf Digest people, for the first time, sent out the message to the manufacturers, hey, don't send any fairway woods here less than 16 degrees, because the old 13, 14, 15 degree 3-woods are unhittable for most golfers. They're better off with like a 17 degree 3.5 or 4-wood, and we make one of those where you make it 3-wood length. So now you hit the ball a little thin, you still get a great shot.
Yeah. Now, what about the spin? I mean, you were talking about a ball ballooning and boring, better. And when you hear some of the commercials on TV for the golf balls or the clubs, they're talking about less spin these days. So what's that all about?
Well, ideally, in the ideal world, you want the least amount of spin with the highest amount of launch angle. The problem is that there's no perfect club for that. So what you want to do is keep your spin rate somewhere in the 2,500 range. In the mid-2000s, you're okay. But where the big problem for most golfers, they don't realize that you have to hit the ball higher. And just because your driver says it's 11 degrees doesn't mean the ball comes off the face at 11 degrees. We know now that you've got to be launching the ball with your driver somewhere between 13 and 16 degrees. And if you can get it in that range and keep the spin rate down to about 2,500 or so, you'll maximize your distance. And that's what everyone is striving for, but a lot of golfers have been thinking, gee, I've got to keep the ball low to get more run, and that just doesn't work. The way the balls, all the balls now are solid construction. It was a whole different story when we were playing with Balata, and for us dinosaurs that have been around for a while, we kind of remember hitting one of those, right? Hitting the Balata in, and you'd have a big smile in it, and then you could play with the rubber band inside and toss it around. And I remember Mr. Venturi, Ken Venturi, saying, Jesse, the ball goes too straight nowadays. The last thing, boy, I'd like to have that problem, Mr. V.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Now, we're almost ready for our next break, so we don't have a lot of time, but one last thing that you had mentioned to me that I thought was really cool was on some of the fairway woods and the hybrids, you're designing the sole a little bit different to help get through some of the thick turf that's out there?
Yeah, I've always had, since I've been doing the clubs for Bobby Jones, I've always had a very contoured leading edge and a very contoured sole, so that because I believe the hybrid should be designed to replace your long irons, not your fairway woods. And what you've got to do is you've got to find a hybrid. Us amateurs, we've got to get a hybrid that you can play out of a lot of different lies, a lot of trouble. We ask a lot of our hybrids where the tour pros, they don't. They use their hybrid off the tee or off a fairway. They rarely use it out of trouble. But we need it as a miracle club. And so if the club is designed with a very contoured sole, the heel and toe never grab in the rough or in fairway traps or in side heel lies, so you get better contact. And the other thing with the hybrid that we have that's very different than anybody else is they're designed so you can adjust the lie angle. Because if they're going to be designed to replace your irons or most of your irons, it should be lie angle adjustable too, so that you can hit them straighter, just like